Today on Couple vs. Cardboard, an epic war game
that you can play in about an hour.
Today we review
BattleLore, 2nd edition.
Hi, I'm Glenn.
I'm Cheryl.
And this is Couple
versus
Cardboard.
All right. So we're not in our home.
No, where are we?
We're in San Jose.
We're in the Bay Area, right?
Yeah. Your old stomping grounds. Well, not exactly.
No.
Recording from San Jose to talk to you about BattleLore.
Yeah. It's actually kind of a modern classic in a lot of ways. Well, sort of. It's based on Richard Borg's kind of modern classic Colors and Commands, the Battles of Westeros, the kind of Game of Thrones version. There's Colors and Commands, there's Ancients, Colors and Commands Napoleonics, there's a samurai version, there's
original
BattleLore, there's, what else? I feel like there's one or two more. And so there have been a lot of systems based on this, and I haven't played any of them. I have almost gotten around to playing a couple different ones at different times.
Right.
So this was our first time playing anything by Richard Borg. So I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Yeah.
This game is going to be a little bit more zoomed in than, say, Risk. You know, Risk is this huge strategic, like, global scale. Even other games like War of the Ring, which is the same kind of deal, is going to be kind of this huge scale. This is really like one individual battle. Instead of it being about area control and kind of domination of these particular regions, what it really is about is holding key strategic locations and otherwise doing whatever will give you points on your scenario card. So for example, there will be flags all over the map that you set up from the scenario cards that you can get points on, either on your side or on the other side of the map. And in addition to that, there are also usually objectives on your scenario card that you put down, which will also give you points throughout the round.
Right.
You have this competing goal of wanting to hold your places while also trying to kind of keep your opponent off of the places that will give them points.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're really only playing to 16 points, and because you can be getting between 1 and 3, maybe even 4, usually somewhere between 1 and 3 points every round, you're talking about something that ends up going very quickly.
So for this game, one of the biggest pieces is the setup.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Right, so what happens is there are these scenario cards, and each faction chooses from the top 3 of their scenario cards, the scenario they want to play for this game. You reveal it at the same time, and you use those scenario cards to build the terrain of the board. You play these setup cards, and then after that, you create your army. So how do you do that? How do you create your army?
So yeah, I mean, this is kind of a classic, almost like a minis game. You get a certain number of points to purchase an army. And the idea is that you put together an army that makes sense to you. All of the different units have a different feel to each one of them. And they have different special abilities, they have different attacks. And as you're doing things throughout the game, they're going to feel very different. The way you end up kind of moving your troops is you have these cards. So you've been given like a handful of these cards, and the idea is that you take these command cards and say, okay, I get to move X units. Usually it's based on which side of the board. So for example, you have the left, the middle, or the right-hand side, and with that, you end up kind of moving them, and if you get to move them, or if you kind of say this is the guy who's going to be moving, he will also get to attack that round.
So another really cool thing about the game is the lore cards.
Oh yeah.
So basically, in addition to all of your command cards that tell you where you can go and which guys you can pick,
right,
you have these lore cards which have the different spells on them. And basically, you're earning points to be able to spend on these spells on your turn, and it usually takes several turns for you to accumulate enough lore points to be able to spend a card. And the more expensive the card, kind of the stronger the spell is.
Yeah.
And they do all kinds of different things at different points in your turn. So they could move an extra unit, they could give your guy an extra attack, they could bring guys back into play. I mean, there's just so many different things that they do.
Yeah.
And they really end up being game changers.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
Yeah.
So
even when they do something simple, it ends up being really powerful. And there are cards that obviously are massive and kind of game changing, but also even just doing simple things is going to be really helpful, because often you feel kind of starved of actions and really feel like you wish you could be doing everything all at once.
15 more things.
Yeah, even though you can't ever really seem to get enough done on your turn.
Right. I really like this game.
Okay.
And I think the first thing I really like about it is its pace. So it feels like, because it's more like a battle instead of like a whole war, it feels like a kind of fighting game that I am up for at the end of a work day. Like, it doesn't feel so draining. Even the setup is not as draining as something more epic.
Right.
And so I feel like I can get some solid plays in of this like fun war-ish game in an evening, and not feel like I have to kind of allocate like hours of time and energy to playing.
Right.
So I like that about it. I think that means that it's gonna get a lot more playtime for us.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't feel as overwhelming to play as some of the other longer, more involved games.
Right.
So I really like that about this game, but it still has so much complexity and depth and strategy to it that it doesn't feel like you're just kind of filling time. It feels like a really solid game to play.
Right.
I love the different pieces. They're so beautiful. The hexes of all the different types of terrain are super fun. The miniatures are really fun.
Yeah.
Like, even just the basic board, which is like a grass kind of visual, is just, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's really well done. So I love that part about it.
I like that the setup is part of the game. Like, I think that's kind of a very like simple thing, but that the setup is actually part of the game is really interesting and fun. I think that it can scratch an itch for a lot of people who maybe don't get a chance to play minis games, who may get an opportunity then to play some minis games, which I think is really great. I love that that the different armies have unique feels to them. So I like that each unit feels like it does something different and has advantages and disadvantages. That the blue guys versus the red guys have a whole different set of things. Like, they all have basically the same units, but they all do incredibly diverse, different things. The blue guys have archers that can shoot twice, whereas the red guys have archers who can poison other people.
Right.
So every unit has kind of a different feel, and there's a different reason why you might want to bring them in based on whatever scenario you chose.
Absolutely.
So I think it ends up being a really cool feel as you get around to it. And because there's not a ton of different units, there are 5 for either side, because there's not a ton of different units, it feels like it ends up being a really cool amount kind of as you're taking it all in.
I would be really excited to see some expansions if that happens.
Right.
Because the old BattleLore had several.
Yeah, a ton.
A ton of different expansions. So I think that if that happens, that'll be a really fun part of the game too.
Right, having whole other different factions. I like that the lore cards match up with each individual faction, which I think can be fun. I think the scenario cards, the fact that the scenario cards match up with the different factions is really fun. I think this game could end up having generals. That could be really fun. So lots of fun stuff that I think, because it's Fantasy Flight, and because I think this has been a hit, I think this could end up going a lot of different ways.
Yeah, which will be really fun.
But what about you? Have you played any other Colors and Commands games? And what do you think about those?
Or have you played this game? And what do you think about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you leave us comments down below.
I think that's all we got.
So if you like this video, make sure you subscribe and like us. And otherwise,
Keep playing awesome games.
we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Alright. Let's get some games up in this
Hey yo, let's get some games up in this piece. Haha. Yeah. Big ups. We on top of this, baby. From New York. Concrete.
We're in San Jose.
San Jose. Concrete concrete jungles.
Silicon jungles.
What? Yeah, silicon jungles. It's what dreams are made of.